Welcome, everybody, to the Soul of the Unexplained. I am your host, Jim Kelgard, and with me, as always, is an all-star panel that we have assembled to help us do a recap of the most amazing conference that was known as PhenomeCon 2025. And sadly, our colleague, my co-creator of the Unexplained, one of my very best friends, my brother from another mother, Mr. Roger Stokes, regrettably is unable to be with us. He has been hospitalized recently, and so we all send our best thoughts and wishes and prayers out to Roger and his family, and hope that he gets well soon. But joining me for this particular recap of PhenomeCon 2025 are some of my absolute favorite people, and we'll start with Mr. John Nyberger, hailing from the great state of Colorado or Colorado if you happen to live in one of those weird parts of the country that just pronounce things like Colorado and tacos instead of tacos. I mean, what do we know here, folks, right? But my favorite Denver Broncos fan, and speaking of which, John, I think the Broncos actually are going to win today. So, John, welcome.
Uh, Thank you. They probably should. I'll find out when we're done with this and I go watch the recording.
Well, they are playing
Hopefully,
the
no one
Colts.
spoils it for me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely so,
Someone's
folks.
going to be, and now Johnny just got that idea. He's like, I'm going to start texting Nightburger for updates.
Yes, indeed. And just to prove that we are today the podcast of the Jays, Mr. Johnny Stratton. Johnny is joining us once again. Always a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today, Johnny?
I'm I'm doing pretty good. My signal might be a little weak, internet's struggling, but I'm so happy to be here. I missed you guys already after what has it been, the 6 days?
Yeah, but it sucks. I
Yep.
was in a
Yeah.
post Phenomicon funk the second I left breakfast. Like, no joke. From the moment I left, I wasn't even out of Vernal, and I'm like, this just freaking sucks. I hate leaving you guys.
Yeah, it was difficult saying goodbye. And of course, on that day, just shortly after breakfast, I had a wonderful, not so wonderful fall, being the clumsy schmuck that I am, and ended up hurting myself pretty good. So, those of you that may have caught Jeff Freeman's J Free 906 podcast this last week saw that I was wearing my trademark sunglasses throughout the podcast because I did in fact suffer a concussion in my fall, and as you can see now, I've got the ring light back and no sunglasses, so I'm doing a little bit better. But my body, oh my gosh, something about growing older, and when you get bumps and bruises, it just you feel them a little more intensely, I should say. So I'm still kind of still not walking great, but and then on top of that, I'm fighting off a cold as well. So if you hear me start to cough and sniffle, that's what it is. So, but I'm confident we can get through this one. So, gentlemen, let's dive right in. PhenomeCon 2025, as you said, John, was the last day was exactly, what, six? Let's see, no, last week, yeah. So 8 days ago, right? Because today is Sunday. So yeah,
Wow.
so 8 days ago
Yep.
was the last day of PhenomeCon. But we're going to rewind and we're going to start at the very beginning of our PhenomeCon experience. Now, uh, the PhenomeCon experience for the soul, the unexplained, and for a lot of Skinwalker Ranch insiders, begins on Tuesday, the evening before PhenomeCon kicks off. And it's a special event that Roger and I host every year for the Skinwalker Ranch Insider community. And we call it the Skinwalker Ranch Insider Family Reunion. And this last year was the fourth time that we've held that particular get together. And every year it keeps getting bigger and bigger and better and better. And I guess that's kind of a great way to overall encapsulate what PhenomeCon 2025 was for me anyway. Was it was bigger and better. And so let's go back to that Tuesday, the 2nd of September, when we kicked off the PhenomeCon festivities with the Skinwalker Ranch Insider Family Reunion. And Johnny, let's start with you. What was that like for you?
It, you know, all the anticipation, the excitement drove me up the wall because I got there on Friday before that Tuesday get together, did a bunch of stuff, and I was already almost whooped by the time we had dinner. But it was like I just got like, that second wind, that real like punch in the gut to get me going because just seeing everybody was great. And we even had some great people that I wasn't expecting to get to see pop in early and hang out with us. So overall, Vernal Brewing Company, there's a reason I ate there 4 times that weekend. So it's a great place for us to all get together.
Absolutely. John, how about you?
Oh man, sorry I spaced out. I was remembering eating at Vernal Brewing Company, and
Tacos,
I was thinking of the food,
tacos.
and I got lost there for a moment. But you know, I mean, what did I think of the that Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I love it because it kind of eases you into the conference. You know, if you were to skip the family reunion part and just go straight to the conference, everybody's busy. There's speakers to listen to. So you'd be seeing people you really want to talk to, but you wouldn't have a lot of time
Mhm.
except during breaks and such. But the family reunion allows you to just get in there, chill out, drink, and hang out for a few hours, and you can just wander around, talk to people, really catch up, and that's what makes it like a family reunion. You really get to sometimes you meet new people there. You get to see people you've known for years now. It's just fantastic, and the food is great. Vernal Brewing Company does a fantastic job.
Could not agree more. In fact, let's just kind of talk about Vernal Brewing Company as Johnny mentioned a moment ago. I'm trying to count how many times I ate there during PhenomeCon. Of course, there was the Skinwalker Ranch Insider Family Reunion, and then John, we went there and had, I want to say we had lunch or something when it was just the three of us plus I think Jay was there, right?
Yeah, just
Um,
drinks and snacks with
and then
Travis
we
and Jay.
and then we went there with Travis, and then we went there when the Hanks brothers, our Hitchhiker bandmates, got into town. So yeah, I
Yep.
ate at Vernon Brewing Company 4 times as well. And no, folks, I did not order tacos every single time. However, on the evening of the Skinwalker Ranch Family Insider reunion, I did eat the tacos, and they were fantastic as they always are. But one of the things that I tried there that I absolutely had to try was what I saw you eating the first day, uh, John, was that chicken pot pie. Oh my gosh,
It's
that
pretty
was
tasty.
so good. And
Hmm.
their homemade root beer, oh my heavens, that's some of the best tasting root beer I've ever had. They make it fresh in house right there at Vernal Brewing Company, and that was definitely a high point for me. But I'll echo what you said, John, in particular. The thing that I like about the Skinwalker Ranch Family Insider reunion is the very reason why Roger set it up was for just that, was to have an opportunity for specifically the Skinwalker Ranch insiders to have a chance to get together on the evening before the madness. And it's just once you hit the ground running on Wednesday, the first day that PhenomeCon starts, excuse me, is the it's so busy. I mean, there's so many things to do, so many lectures and presentations to see, and it's all kind of very rigidly structured, especially if you have add-on activities during any of the days. And so, with the Skinwalker Ranch Family Insider Reunion, it's nice to have a nice, relaxing evening with an opportunity to meet the people that many times you only know them online through the Skinwalker Ranch Insider community. And so you get a chance to meet these people in person, face to face, and hang out with them. And of course, you never know who's going to show up. And this year, of course, we had the always amazing Jay Stratton, and Michelle was there as well. We had our moderators. Debbie was there, and of course, Savannah, the current admin for the insider community, and it was great to meet Savannah as well. And so we had a really wonderful evening. Unlike last year, where we got rained out a couple of times, this year the weather was absolutely beautiful. And as you can see from Mr. Nyberger's the top of his head there, he had plenty of
It's
color.
it's getting more normal now. I look like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Rudolph the Red Scalped Reindeer
There you
for a
go.
couple of days.
Right.
You're going to be golden like Arnold, my friend.
That's right.
Yes. And so the family reunion was awesome. We had We had planned for 100, and we had just a little shy of 100 showed up. There were some flight snafus that always happen. Usually, uh, where do they usually happen, John?
DFW.
That's right.
Friends don't let friends fly through
Friend,
DFW.
friends don't let friends fly through Dallas. Yes, that's right. And
That
Dallas this time
airport
of
is on
year.
my avoid list, and I didn't even
Yep.
fly there.
me
My
too.
bags flew there, but I didn't.
Hmm. I did it
Exactly.
once and never again.
Yep. And then there was also apparently some issues due to bad weather coming out of Phoenix as well. So we had a number of our insiders weren't able to make it on time because flight delays and/or cancellations. And but we still had a great crowd that showed up, and uh, I think you were there. You might have been there, John, when Travis Taylor, when we were telling him, it was funny because we were there having drinks with Jay and Travis. Uh, the manager of Vernal Brewing Company comes out and says, "Hey, Jim, how you doing?" And Travis was like, "Wait a minute, you're on a first name base. They don't even know me, and I come here more than you do." So I explained to Travis about what the insider reunion was. He's like, "Well, let me know about it next year." He's like, "Oh, hell, I'd love to come to that." So hopefully, folks, fingers
Next
crossed,
year.
next year we might be able to get Dr. Travis Taylor to join us coming to the family reunion next year. So, but no, I would say the family reunion was a rousing success. Everybody had a great time. I got to meet insiders that I had never met before, some coming from as far away as New York and Canada, and just really had a good time getting to meet some of the folks there. And of course, the dinner was great. The atmosphere was great. And then that leads us into Wednesday, the first day of PhenomeCon. And boy, did it start off in a big fashion. So, John, how did things kick off for you on Wednesday?
You, you'd have to remind me what even happened on Wednesday. It's
Well,
such a blur. All of the days blur. Oh, wait. I know what happened on Wednesday. Jay Stratton spoke. I had to censor his middle name. That was a
I'm mad he
highlight.
didn't wear the name tag on Tuesday.
I know. And then
we made him that name tag, and somebody didn't give it to him.
I posted that name tag to the insider site and had to immediately go delete it.
Oh,
People who don't know the joke,
Yeah,
they just don't get it. I love
yeah,
it though.
yeah. But
yep,
he wouldn't wear it. I thought it was perfect. I knew he
yep,
wouldn't wear it, but it was perfect.
yep.
But yeah, so Jay talking that day, that was
Yeah,
it's
the
it,
I think all three of us for the first it was kind of surreal for me because we got inside the ballroom before everything starts, and of course Jay had this amazing booth set up for him, and also it doubled as the Hitchhiker merchandise booth. And so of course Michelle was there, and we also had Roger sit there because Roger um, had some special accommodations that needed to be made for while he was there. And while we're waiting for the MC to come in, Greg Lawson, I'm sitting there, standing there off to the side of Jay's booth, and somebody taps me on my shoulder. I turn around, and it's Whitley Strieber. Whitley Strieber taps me on my shoulder, and he sees that I'm wearing the Skinwalker Ranch t-shirt, and he's like, excuse me. He's like, do you by chance know where Greg Lawson is? And I'm like, well, he should be here momentarily. He's emceeing. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be waiting. And so I explained to Whitley that he had to just go wait in the back area there, and then when Greg's ready, he'll come get him and whatnot. But that started a little conversation between me and Whitley Strieber. And of course, those of you that don't know who Whitley Strieber is, he's a New York Times best-selling author. He wrote the very famous book Communion back in 1987 about his experience with extraterrestrials and so forth, and got to talking. And it turns out that he's currently in a part of upstate New York where my mom's family came from. And when I told him that, It's like this really, really small, blink and you miss it hamlet in deep in the Catskill Mountains. And when I mentioned, because he didn't tell me, he just said that he was based out of Ulster County, which is a county in the Catskills. And my mother's ancestors were among the first European settlers that settled that area in the 1600s. So my family's roots go very far back into that particular area of upstate New York. And so I then said, "Well, have you ever heard of a little town in that county called West Shokan?" And he literally took a step back and his eyes like bulged. He's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, that's where my mom's family, the family name, that's where they settled. It's where they came from. And he's like, "I had just finished talking to somebody right here at this conference from West Shokan, New York." And we were both like, "Whoa, what are the odds? What a small world." And so we just got to talking, and Whitley started asking me questions about Skinwalker Ranch and all that. And I told him how I was an insider, and he had no idea what that meant. So I explained the insider program to him, and then Greg Lawson shows up, and Whitley goes to do his thing, and then the three of us, if I'm not mistaken, instead of staying for Whitley's presentation, we actually decided to go to Paul H. Smith.
Yep.
Was giving his presentation, um, the first presentation, one of the first presentations of Wednesday. And gentlemen, I have to say that presentation that we went to, I'm so glad that we did, because I was trying to debate, did I want to stay for Whitley Strieber's presentation, or did I want to go to Paul Smith's presentation? And I'm so glad that I got to that I went with you guys and attended Paul's, because Paul's presentation was amazing. So Jonny, would you mind taking just a quick moment and talk to us a little bit about what your thoughts were on Paul Smith's presentation that day?
I really enjoyed it because he's most known for his work in remote viewing, which, there's a lot of opinions, a lot of things that go about that, and I'm not well versed in it. I will be hopefully soon because I did get a little thing from Paul. Now, Paul gets a nice new title. Is I'm calling him Uncle Paul now because he's an honorary member of the family. We had we'd
Check
spent
this
a
out. I've
lot of time.
I,
Hey,
I've
there
got
you
the
go.
same book too, John. Where's
Mine's in
yours?
my it's in my car, or I'd be holding it up.
But I
I
will
didn't
say
know.
he did write me a really kind note in there because he's stunned by the fact that I am under the age of 30. So he wrote that he's never met a smoother, wiser man under 30. There's a couple little dots there, but no, I really enjoyed his talk about consciousness just because it takes a real step back from the typical idea of, we know what consciousness is. It kind of goes back to, the Supreme Court definition of a certain, P word of you don't really know what it is, but you know it when you see it.
Right.
But he kind of delved into, our perception of consciousness, and we can't understand others or animals or other species, and really just opened it up from a very narrow type of topic to just start looking broadly. So I really just enjoyed the little aspects of the consciousness, and then also discussing, the different theories of ET type, what their type of consciousness, what their type of morality. He dove into, consciousness with ethics, morality, and all of that. Uh, I really enjoyed that because he is very right, and people don't think about it enough when we talk about the UAPs, the extraterrestrial, of what type of other cultures are out there, and not everybody's going to be ET wanting to come here, be your friend, and phone home, but it's very unlikely that they're all out here like Independence Day blowing up every building.
Right.
So I just really enjoyed that talk. I'm really glad I went to that one because I didn't know what I was going to do that morning at first. Every day, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
So
John,
we
how
did
about
it.
John? How about you? What would
Well,
you were there as well?
yeah, I had the same problem of choosing though. I've never heard Whitley Strieber speak, so I thought that might be kind of interesting. I definitely wanted to see Paul Smith, but I wanted to see Melissa Winterton again. So it was kind of a toss up, but then we all agreed, let's just go see Paul. And it was really interesting. I did like his discussion of consciousness in general and, what a non-human intelligence might be. What, what could we expect from interacting with such a thing? What might its motives be? Could we even ever comprehend what its motives might be? Could they be malicious? Could they be beneficent?
Mhm.
Could maybe they just flat out don't care? Like we're an ant on an ant hill, and they see we're here, but it's just not important to them. There's this wide spectrum of potentialities, and probably a lot of them are true, depending on who you're running into. And
Yeah,
it was a lot of good food for thought.
I agree. Out of all the presentations that I was able to catch at PhenomeCon this year, I would put Paul's presentation in the top three, uh, possibly even among the top three of all time for all 5 years that I've attended. I enjoyed it that much. I mean, truly, the the thing that I've been wanting to learn the most about in all of this realm of the unexplained is consciousness, because I feel that there is such a inextricable link to consciousness and all of this strange phenomena that we see happening, whether it's at Skinwalker Ranch or anywhere, whether it's related to the Bigfoot phenomena, you name it. I think consciousness is a tremendous part of it, and even if it's not, I think it's something that I still want to try to learn as much as I can about it, because of course I have my own religious and spiritual thoughts about consciousness based off of, they're informed by what my religious and spiritual upbringing is, but I want to learn more and I want to be able to gain a greater knowledge of that. And Paul's presentation really paid off in a big way for that. It made me realize that that really is one of the paths that I should start going down and learning more about. And one of these days, I would absolutely love to attend one of his workshop seminars, one of his ones that you pay for, because I think it would be money really, really well spent. Uh, but I also, just afterward, and the days that followed, getting the chance to talk to Paul, because Paul actually came. Uh, we didn't even mention this about the Skinwalker Ranch Family Insider, Skinwalker Ranch Insider Family Reunion. Paul Smith was one of the attendees. He was there along with Jay Stratton. And so we got to talk with Paul a little bit during the Insider Family Reunion, but several times throughout the conference, backstage and at various other events, it seems that our paths were always crossing with Paul, and really had a great opportunity to get to talk to him and get to know him. So this particular first presentation that we attended at PhenomeCon was great, and it was definitely one of my favorites. And as you mentioned, John, it was kind of hard to tell, hard to choose with the very right out of the gate, because on Wednesday, the first speakers you had to choose from were Whitley Strieber in the main ballroom, Paul Smith, and then Richard Estep, who's I believe from Australia, but he's also a phenomenal author about strange phenomena and the paranormal, and then Melissa Winterton, who is also one of my absolute favorites. The sunrise meditation that she does, and just the way that she has of just putting you at ease and helping you find calm and balance. Uh, Her presentations are also ones not to be missed. So we did kind of almost have to flip a coin to decide who we were going to go see, and we did all decide ultimately on Paul Smith, and I'm damn glad that we did. But I guarantee you, those other speakers put on one heck of a presentation as well. And folks, if you were there and if you were at PhenomeCon and you attended either Whitley Strieber's presentation or Melissa Winterton or Richard Estep, let us know. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on those presentations that the three of us were unable to catch on that. So then, of course, guys, that we had our first lunch break and went out to the food trucks. And John, I gotta say, I'm kind of ashamed of myself, being I'm the taco guy. The entire time I was at PhenomeCon, I never visited the taco food truck once. I'm so ashamed of myself.
Mm.
I do find that interesting. But the corn dog truck is pretty damn
Yes,
good.
we did go to the corn dog truck, and wow, that was amazing. That was one of the best corn dogs that I've ever had. So that
Hmm.
was definitely worth checking out. But then we come back from lunch that day, and of course, the big guy, uh, Jay Stratton, gave his presentation in the main ballroom. And John, I'm going to ask you, what were your thoughts on the presentation by Jay Stratton?
Well, I was lucky enough to hear a similar presentation at SCU back in June or whenever it was. This was a kind of a modified version of that, so most of it I had heard already. But my I loved it. You really it really gives you a sense of who Jay is and the sorts of things he's done and kind of where he's coming from. You know, people don't really know that much about him because he doesn't seek the limelight. He doesn't try to shout from the mountaintops and try to draw attention to himself like some of the other, so-called UAP personalities. So he's kind of this mysterious figure, and I think a lot of people play on that, like including the Skinwalker Ranch production team. They like to make him the mysterious guy at the table. That's kind of another running joke that he's the mysterious, you know, secretive guy there when he's just, pretty chill and cool.
Mhm.
But you get to find out some of his background and what led to, what how he even got into a position to study this stuff. And it all comes from the standpoint of, like, he even says it himself. He kind of already had a background that was preparing him for it, whether he knew it or not. But then 9/11 happens, and the entire intelligence community felt like they had failed. Like they knew bits and pieces of the picture. No one had put it all together. They felt like they had failed. And Jay and all of the others are like, I will be damn sure we do not have a failure like this again. So when they start getting reports of things in the sky, from military people, or people in the intelligence community, whatever the source was, they start getting, whether it's imagery, some sort of data of something anomalous. Who are they going to go to? They're going to go to Jay freaking Stratton because that's his job. That that's the chief of air and space warfare at DIA, right?
Right.
They're like, this is the guy who knows everything. If it's in the sky, he freaking knows what it is. And the stuff starts coming across the desk, and he's like, I don't know what that is. We need to find out what this stuff is, especially as more and more members of the military start reporting, hey, we're running into these things. We're seeing them in the sky. Our pilots are seeing them. Our new radars are picking them up. We don't know what's going on. Is this a danger? Is this a near peer? Is this an adversary? What is this? So it's important to study that stuff to figure out what the hell is going on. Purely from an intelligence standpoint, to make sure you don't miss something important, that could lead to some another disaster or to some other at least negative event. You don't know what you're dealing with, so it's important to study it. And I think Jay had a lot of frustration that most of the government didn't feel the same way. They're thinking, oh, it's the UFOs, crazy guys. You use the word UFO, gets shut down immediately. So he started calling them UAP to try to avoid that stigma. So he talked a lot about the stigma, his motivations for studying this, and um, yeah, that's probably enough of a summary, but I
The
really, really enjoy hearing that aspect of it.
and folks, just to give you an idea of how much respect Jay Stratton commands, Jay Stratton was the only person presenting during the block of time that he was presenting. There were no other presentations being given in any of the other rooms at the conference center. So at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, if you were at PhenomeCon, the only show happening at that time was the Jay Stratton show, and with good reason, for all the reasons that John just mentioned. But there was one moment for me, John, that was kind of like a big holy shit moment where my eyes were like, wow. And that was when Jay talked about what he had actually uncovered while he was serving on the UAP task force regarding our own government's history in the investigation of UFOs. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. And out of respect for Jay, I'm also not going to mention the specifics here. But one of the things that Jay mentioned was absolutely jaw dropping, and it was one of the biggest admissions that anybody with Jay's resume that I had heard and seen with my own eyes. And as you said, John, the thing that I admired the most about Jay, other than the fact that he's got excellent taste in music and is one hell of a guitar player, but I like the fact that he's not like so many of these other personalities that we see out there in the UAP community that are like waving their hands like, "Hey, look at me! I've got a story to tell over here. You're never going to believe this because because I was this, and this." And so, yeah, Jay's not like that at all. Jay is very, very dignified. Just the way that he carries himself, he just has a different, um, for want of a better word, a different aura around him. He carries himself with much more purpose and poise than anybody else that I've seen as far as people that we know are kind of power players in the UAP movement. Certainly not like an Elizondo who, you know, is making claims that he's having difficulty substantiating, um, and certainly not like Greer, who's if the truth doesn't come through him, then it's not truth at all, kind of type thing. So Jay Stratton to me is he's quite possibly the single most important uh, individual we've had come forward that has started to tell his story. And the stuff that he has revealed is jaw dropping enough. And just wait until we are able to learn more about what's coming up in his memoirs. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. But Jay's presentation, folks, I'll be honest, even if I wasn't friends with Jay as I am, it still would have been one of the highlights, if not the biggest highlights as far as presentations go, because Jay's presentation was the biggest highlight for me as far as all the presentations that were given. And it did not disappoint in the slightest, and absolutely enjoyed that. Now, Jonny, obviously you're going to be a little biased, but still, what were your thoughts on your dad's presentation?
I, I have a lot to say, and I'm going to try to not come off as rambling almost.
Come on, you're on the right
As we've,
podcast.
I know, as you guys have said, as many people who have interacted with my father have, come to find is he's not a man of many words. He doesn't talk a lot. He does not gloat. In fact, you know, the only thing that I can think of in my time growing up with him where he gloated was beating me in video games. That's probably the only time he would gloat. Um, he doesn't like to talk about stuff very much. He doesn't like to discuss his professional, experiences, his some could say heroic things that he's been involved with. And that speech, honestly, was the first time I think I've ever seen or heard him talking the way he did about 9/11 and the impact on the intelligence community the way it was, and that he felt like he was failing. And, you know, it, we talk a lot, about different things, and over the years 9/11 has come up a lot because it's a big thing that has happened in our history, and especially with him. I mean, uh, you know, going back to that day, he has never really been too shy when he does discuss it with people to say he was there in the Pentagon, in the area where the plane impacted. He lost friends, colleagues, people he'd been working with, and that was a turning point. And with that event came a drive that not many professionals, especially in the military sphere, can comprehend unless they've had something burning within them the same. And that was never again will we allow our intelligence or lack thereof to result in the death of another innocent American or an innocent person at large. And he took this very, very close to heart, clearly. And I didn't even really realize how close he took this of doing things that make him uncomfortable, doing the things that need to be done because he knows it has to be done, going in front of the public to the media, talking to Congress. He hates that stuff deep down, but he also loves it for the sake of this is the mission and this is what it takes to accomplish the mission. And it's a side of him that I've really never seen outside of this, just how passionate he really is. Even though it's not, his music, it's not his, family and things that he just wants to spend time doing and relaxing. This is his mission and something that he's going to continue to fight and push forward so that we never have something like that again. And, like I said, kind of rambling a little bit because I'm proud of my dad. I'm really proud of a lot of the stuff he's doing. And sometimes I wish that he would do more of the getting in front of people, but I think that something that just comes from his reluctancy, or rather being reserved, gives him that credibility that we don't always see with everybody else. Because he could be speaking the truth from the mountaintops on every news channel, but it just gets watered down with time if you're out there blasting this information or saying the same thing 10 different ways on 10 different platforms. And I think PhenomeCon is a great place because, as he said, this is your time. This is your moment to enjoy this information, which is why I'm not going to go too much in detail of everything he talked about, is because that's for us, that's for the people that paid to be there.
Right.
But it was a very good presentation where, people even like me grew up with the guy, got to see parts of him that not everybody gets to see.
Yeah. Well said, Johnny. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Yeah, there's not much more that I can say about Jay than has already been said, other than to add the absolute biggest amen and endorsement that I can to the character and integrity and just the downright awesomeness that is Jay Stratton, or as Travis Taylor would say, Jay Mother effing Stratton, right? So yeah, that was a big highlight for me. So to round out the first day here, and folks, I'm gonna put my four eyes on here so that I can actually read here. But after we had Jay's presentation, the speakers that wrapped up the remainder of the day, we had Cliff Barrickman, who of course is a prominent Bigfoot researcher, and then there was also Tony and Cherie Rathman that gave us a presentation. And then Dustin Eskelson, who is one of my favorite people, who is also the director of the Utah chapter of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, gave a great presentation. And then after that, and speaking of Dustin Eskelson, we're going to try to get him here on the Soul of the Unexplained in the not too distant future. But the next big one that took place after that, David Schrader gave a presentation in the main ballroom. And John, you and I have talked a number of times about how much, what big fans we are of Dave Schrader. And once again, this presentation that he gave. Now, if you recall last year, folks, those of you that were at PhenomeCon 2024, David Schrader's talk last year made even, hardened, grizzled Raiders fans cry. I was practically bawling my eyes out when Dave gave his presentation last year. And this year, yeah, I mean, so this year it wasn't so much that Dave had us crying like last year, but he still gave a kick-ass presentation. And I have to be honest, guys, I've always been, it's not that I've been a disbeliever in ghosts and hauntings and stuff like that. It's more a case of I don't think that side of the unexplained gets brought out in a credible manner most of the time. And there are some people, thankfully, that are out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, John and Johnny, if you don't, let me know if you agree or disagree with me. But David Schrader is one of those people who is helping me change my mind. because the way that he approaches things, it's not like he's making, you know, leaps and assumptions when it comes to certain hauntings and, you know, incidents that are paranormal incidents. Uh, he doesn't seem to sensationalize and dramatize, which for me is a big thing because I do believe, obviously, that ghosts are real, that spirits are real. I don't believe that death is the end of us, as they would say. I believe our spirits, our consciousness, life force, energy, whatever you want to call it, I believe it lives on after death. And I believe it is possible that our loved ones in particular can come and check on us from time to time, whether it's in the form of a dream or sometimes in a full blown apparition. You can see a deceased loved one or somebody that you cared about. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be a loved one. There are many valid reports, credible reports of people that have seen apparitions and have had really strange stuff happen to them. And so the way that Dave Schrader presents it, he's got such charisma and such personality. I now make it a point that anytime he's giving a presentation in the main ballroom, I want to be there. Not just because, you know, I'm interested in what he's got to say, but he's just that engaging of a speaker. I mean, seriously, you are not going to be sleeping during Dave Schrader's presentation, which I absolutely love. So Jonny, let's start with you. Were you there to catch Dave Schrader's presentation on that first day?
I was, and Dave is just an awesome guy, like you said. I mean, last year he had us crying. Even I was tearing up on that one. And then this year, he managed to have such sway and emotions with everything he talked about. And, not to get too deep in everything he talked about, but, losing his father and and his family and things of that nature that he dealt with all this grief, all this tragedy, and yet he did it in such a beautiful, loving way that made us all just feel like we were part of that family. He
Yes.
is a masterful speaker
Mhm.
at that engagement of making you feel like you're right there next to him through everything. And that's just something that I can't say enough about the guy is he is loving, kind, and personable while talking to 1,000 people. And I don't know how he can do that. I would watch a Netflix special of just him talking for an hour and a half because he is that good. And I look forward to hopefully seeing him for many years to come out there. Just everything he talked about was great.
I
And he
I
completely.
did
agree
get me
that
to buy a book.
John, how about you?
I absolutely would watch that special. If he had a 1.5 hour, 2 hour special, just sitting on a stool talking or walking around a stage talking, sign me up. I mean, the guy is special. You know, you think if you don't know anything about him, which I didn't 2 years ago,
Mhm.
I thought it was just going to be some funny guy that, talks about ghosts. And then he comes out and slays us all till everyone's bawling. Like, and I'm a softie. I cry at the drop of a hat. And we're all crying. I'm like, this is ridiculous, but it was so profound.
Yeah.
And then this year, as soon as I saw him, I ran up and gave him a hug. And then later I said, hey, are you going to make us cry again? And he's like, bring some tissues. But yeah, he. I will also say, thank God he's funny
Right.
because the stories he tells are so poignant and touching that if he didn't occasionally bring you back up,
Hmm.
you'd be such a downer because it's sad. It's so sad uh, when you think about certain aspects of what he's touching on. Because he's touching on people that have passed on and lost family members and lost chances to say things and that type of thing. So yeah, thankfully he knows exactly when to add a little humor, bring you back out of that, and then end on the perfect point. Yeah, he is an absolute must see. If you're at PhenomeCon, do not miss Dave Schrader.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And it was also cool because, not wanting to jump too far ahead, but on Friday, one of the add-on activities that Roger and I always do is the Voice of the Believers open mic and dinner. And for the last several years, Dave Schrader has also attended that. And this year, he told an amazing story around the bonfire this year at that particular event that was really, really cool. And again, if Dave Schrader, I can't imagine PhenomeCon being PhenomeCon without the presence of David Schrader. And yeah, definitely one of my favorites there. So then, of course, after that, we had the opening reception. It was from 7 to 9, and it was a lot of fun. Uh, the lines for the food there were crazy long, so I didn't get a chance to try much of anything, but we still had a good time with that. And then so that takes us into Thursday, gentlemen. And so on Thursday, we kick things off with in the main ballroom with James Keenan, who of course is an independent uh, archaeologist and historian, and he's worked with of course he's been on Skinwalker Ranch a couple times, but more recently we've seen him as a regular participant on the Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch. And so he gave a presentation for the first bit there on Thursday, and then we broke for lunch, and then we had the and again, forgive me, folks, my pronunciation with my new teeth doesn't go too well. The whole Zer files, not the Hoser files, right? HOLZER files panel. So it was Dave Schrader and Cindy Kaza and what was the Shane Pittman? I think is the
Yep.
third
That
one
would be
that's on
Shane.
that.
Yes, sir.
So yeah,
Poor
so
Shane.
so again,
Poor
the
Shane.
we had Dave Schrader up there, so you know it was going to be good just having him there. But it was equally awesome having Shane and Cindy there. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but this was another panel that I genuinely enjoyed. And Jonny,
Yep.
you've got a book there that has
I
some
do.
relevance. Show us what you got there.
So I have not broken it open. I hope it's in frame. I can't tell.
Yep.
Yep.
This is the book that Shane wrote, Hope on the Other Side of Pain. And from what I can tell, if Dave could jerk some tears, this book will top it because Dave is the one who sold me on buying this. He introduced me to Shane. Good Lord, Shane is such a kind person. And he even gave my mom and I these bracelets, which I've been wearing ever since I got back. He calls them protection bracelets. People can think of that how they will. I like it. I feel good wearing it. But this book apparently is going to be a very emotional roller coaster about getting through PTSD and finding hope. So I'm very
Oh,
excited. I like Shane. He's a very kind person.
that's amazing. One thing I noticed in the whole Zer files panel was they were kind of busting Shane's chops quite a bit. Mainly Dave, of course, but
They got him back.
Shane appeared to be pretty good natured about it all. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk to either Cindy or Shane during the conference very much, and I just briefly got to talk to Dave backstage a couple times. But really enjoyed the panel that they put on. John, how about you? What were your thoughts on that?
Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, strangely, I have not seen an episode of the Holzer Files yet.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not even sure where to find it, but I
It's
definitely need to find it because I
it's
want to
I
watch it.
believe it is on Netflix and that one app that starts with a T, like Trulu, something like that. It's
yeah,
on.
yeah, it's definitely John. It's definitely Johnny's right. I think it's if it's not Netflix, then it's might be either Peacock or Paramount because it's on one of the streaming services that I
Yeah.
watch regularly, and I've
Mhm.
watched the first season, and it's well worth the time to watch. It's really well
Yeah,
done.
it sounds fantastic, and since I haven't seen the show, I've never seen them interact before.
Hmm.
So getting to see them interact in the panel setting was
Yeah,
wonderful. Like just seeing their personalities and the way they interact, I thought, okay, I have to watch the show now because
yeah,
if you have this mix of personalities on the show, it's got to be good. And you can tell they're also approaching it from a serious perspective.
Mhm.
You know, it's not, they're not making stuff up. They're trying to do real investigations and present real data. That ends up being entertaining. I mean, anything with Dave in it's going to be entertaining because he's a goofball. but
Yeah,
but yeah, I would add that. I'm starting to think that might be also a must see panel from now on for me.
yeah,
Yeah. And I'm in the same boat. I regret I haven't watched any of the show yet. It's on my list, but I'm, as you might realize, very terrible about watching shows.
yeah. No worries, no worries there. So we, uh, after the panel discussion was done, there was the afternoon was filled with presenters like William Henry of Ancient Aliens gave a presentation in the main ballroom, and then Shane Pittman gave his own presentation, which I kind of wish that I'd made the time to attend that. Jessica Chobot from Expedition X, I think, is what where she came from on that. She gave a presentation, and then the final presenter in the main ballroom that day was Amy Bruni, of course, another psychic medium, if I'm not mistaken. But that I actually missed all of those because, unless I'm mistaken, I think that was the one of the times, gentlemen, that we went out to that great Italian restaurant, Antica Forma, was when we discovered that. And um, folks, you know that I love food, and normally it's all about tacos for me. Being a New Yorker, however, I grew up in a community that had a very strong Sicilian and Italian population. So I grew up around authentic Italian food. And my biggest complaint living in Utah for 30 some odd years is that I've never been able to find anything close to authentic Italian cuisine. The closest, I'm sad to say, is Olive Garden, which thankfully I have right here in my city that I live in here. And I love Olive Garden, don't get me wrong. But of all places in Vernal, Utah, we discovered what I categorically declare as the most authentic Italian restaurant I've eaten at, not just in the state of Utah, but probably outside of the state of New York. It was that good. And part of the reason, and again, forgive me for talking about food, they grow their own tomatoes on site, they grow their own herbs on site, they bake all their own bread, and I believe they even make their own pasta
They
in
do.
house. And
Yeah.
folks, I am here to tell you the food. Okay, one of my favorite things to order as an appetizer is bruschetta. I love bruschetta, and this was the most delicious bruschetta I've ever had in my life. Just the perfect amount of balsamic glaze on it, and oh, guys, help me out here. Help me sell how awesome this place
It's
was.
I
amazing.
don't think I can have it at any other restaurant now, and I can't replicate that because it was that good.
Yeah, I've had bruschetta 100 times at least at other restaurants, and I don't think I've ever tasted it and really noted anything about it other than yeah, that's fine. You know, it's just something to snack on. You know, this was a very different experience. This was first bite, and we're all looking at each other, tears forming in our eyes,
Yeah,
like,
it's
"Oh my
seriously that
god,
good. Yes.
what the hell is this stuff?" like, like,
I think I have a new
it was
podcast idea
it
for
was
us, and
pretty
it's three
funny.
fat guys talking about food because
Oh yeah,
this
I am so
us.
there, Johnny. I am so there.
Yeah, it was
And John is right. It's an
wonderful.
experience.
It is. It's so good. It's hard to describe. Like it really was just perfectly made. And then the main courses came out and yeah,
So for the main
amazing.
course, I ordered the chicken parm the first night that we were there, and oh my gosh, it was just cooked perfectly. The breading on the chicken was delicious, but the sauce, the marinara sauce that they put on this was just out of this world. And just to add further credibility to what I'm saying, my three sisters, who are all, they grew up in the same part of New York that I did. I have one older sister who is as much of a foodie as I am. And I told her about this place. And so when they got into town, they decided, hey, let's go to that place Jim was talking about. So they went there, and my sister said, you were not kidding. That is hands down one of the best bruschettas. And the she didn't tell me what she ordered for her main entree, but she's like, everything about this restaurant was just like if we'd stepped back into to New York where my sisters and I grew up. And it really is that good. And we ended up going there at least 2 or 3 times, right, guys?
Yeah, we went
I
again
only
for
went
lunch.
once.
Oh yeah,
Johnny,
Johnny
I know.
went with us with Jay and
I went with you guys.
for lunch. Yeah.
Yeah, only the one time, and it was amazing. But what's funny about your sisters when you bring that up is they were telling a certain friend of ours from Ancient Aliens about it when I walked in on them all chatting.
really?
That's what they were choosing to talk about was how good the Italian food was.
Wow. That's awesome.
See,
Yeah, folks, seriously, I'm trying to come up with an excuse to go back to Vermal just so I can go to Antica Forma. And I've got to take some more jams and jellies out to Caleb Bench. So maybe I'll use that as my excuse to to go to Vernal one more time. But
The Soul of the Unexplained, not brought to you by Antica Forma.
that's right.
right? Can we get a
This is not
sponsorship?
paid promotion, people. It's amazing. They earn this.
And
If you notice us getting some production upgrades now, you'll know why.
exactly. This new camera, high resolution 5K, donated by. Hmm.
And Tika Forma,
Yes, indeed.
We're gonna get a cease and desist.
We
probably.
are. And then also, gentlemen, on Thursday, of course, one of the other big things for us was something else that the three of us never miss at PhenomeCon would be the Skinwalker Ranch behind the scenes VIP dinner, which happens every Thursday night at PhenomeCon. Again, sold out this year, and that for me has always been one of the highlights. And I gotta say, particularly for the food, I was actually more impressed with the food this year than I was last year. This year we had kind of like a beef dish that was just amazing. Really, really enjoyed it, along with the mashed potatoes, and of course we had that gingerbread cookie with the mint chocolate chip ice cream, little
Mm.
alien thing there. Uh,
Yes, it was evil. Evil, I tell you.
yes, yes, indeed. So that was one of the add-on activities that all of us did together. So Johnny, what were your thoughts on the Skinwalker Ranch dinner?
I mean, I had a good time listening to the guys chat. I didn't know that I was taking part in that until about 5 minutes before it started. So I had actually already eaten and I wasn't hungry. So like I felt bad because I hardly touched the food. It was good, but like I had already eaten right beforehand because part of how my Phenomicon schedule goes is I do as I'm told and I'm told where I should be for a majority of it. So I didn't know I was gonna have that dinner there, and I kind of regret that I wasn't all that hungry then because it was very good food.
Right on. Yeah, I actually had Mara Lee. She'd say she's like, here, you can have my dessert, and of course I'm like, hey, all right. And by the time it came to dessert, I was already too full. I couldn't eat all of it. But oh my gosh, it was so good. John, how about you? What were your thoughts on the dinner?
The food was great. I agree. I mean, I shouldn't have even had the dessert, you know. And then someone's like, "Hey, do you want mine?" I'm like, "No, I'm trying to lose weight." Like, what are you trying to do to me? Because the dessert was amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
it's definitely not on my diet, but it was pretty darn tasty. And of
There's
course
no
the pan
diets on vacation.
that's kind of what we agreed. That's our rule is if you're away from home, and this is what Michelle, his mom, always tells me when I'm out there. There's no dieting when you're away from home. The rules are paused. That's
that's
kind of the rule, I guess, now. But I
But
think
we're
that's why
getting at it.
that's right. He's going to kick my butt into gear. We'll be making some progress soon. But as far as the panel goes, it's always fantastic. You know, especially Travis kind of like takes over whatever panel he's on, uh, and he's hilarious, and he's pretty fun to listen to. And then hearing the other guys react to the different types of things that they were showing, you know,
yeah.
it's a great panel.
Yeah.
You know, I echo um, Travis's thoughts. It's kind of weird that the Eric Bard, the chief investigator, wasn't there. But that was unusual. But
Yeah, he was Eric was absent throughout
Mhm.
the entire conference, and utterly disappointing that Eric couldn't be there. But yeah, it
it
was
was
still had a great panel nonetheless. In fact,
fantastic,
let's
fantastic.
let's segue that into Friday. The first speaker on Friday was supposed to be Mr. Bard, but we ended up getting Ben Woodruff, who, if you're a Skinwalker Ranch insider, or if you're somebody who watches The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch docuseries, that's a name you should recognize right off the bat. Ben Woodruff, who of course is an anthropologist, biologist, zoologist, and he's the guy that was the one that kind of helped them, make that connection with that mysterious carcass they discovered in the river last season. Um, and we now know it's 89% of the DNA is still unknown. So dire wolf, maybe, but nevertheless, folks, Ben Woodruff was called in to speak in place of Eric Bard, and I think we hit the frickin' lottery with having Ben Woodruff there.
Yes,
That was like,
that was a grand
man,
slam
I'm
home. Walk walk off end of game performance.
yeah.
Amazing.
Eric's presentations are really good, but holy shit, Ben's
Eric who?
presentation, right? That's what most of us were saying was Eric. What? Who's Eric? Huh? No, the this presentation, Ben Woodruff. Oh my gosh, was just absolutely jaw dropping. Good. It was funny, and I think it was either, I don't know which one of you it was. It could have been you, John, that was saying the great thing about having a speaker like Ben first thing in the morning is you are not going to be falling asleep. And that's
Yeah.
so true. Ben was so rapid fire with everything he was presenting, and he had such enthusiasm and such a joy to listen
Yep.
to. He had us laughing. He had us being like, wow. I mean, there were a lot
Yeah.
of wow moments, and just his candor that he had on stage. He is a natural, I think, for presenting
Yep.
in a format like this. Absolutely want to see him coming back at PhenomeCon 2026. Johnny, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Ben knocked the socks off of the stage with that. I mean, the man with literal skeletons in his closet just wow. Like I had already kind of liked Ben, minimal interactions through insiders, but I already knew a little bit. I liked Ben, but oh my God. Now taking the obvious out of who my favorite speaker was at the event, because I'm not allowed to have any other than obvious.
Sure.
I think that Ben's presentation was probably my favorite just overall because he was engaging, he was educational, and he genuinely loves every ounce of what he's talking about, what he does. I like John had said, I couldn't fall asleep during that when normally I would hearing an anthropologist talk about bones. I would
Hmm.
normally be snoozing off and getting tired, but like
Right?
just so energetic, loving, kind, and just interactive with the audience. He had me on my toes because it was all just great. And I really didn't expect him to have so much stuff prepared, all of the nice examples that he had laid out, which I I question where in the world he got some of those, but he's the guy.
He's
He
he's
is the
definitely
guy.
Yep.
definitely the guy. John, how about
Oh
you?
man, it was such a surprise. Like he had such energy. You can tell he's a teacher.
Yes.
Like he was presenting it as a teacher, but it's almost like from a childlike curiosity perspective. It was like, look at this. Isn't this freaking amazing? What the hell is that? And then he'd go into some science about it and give some examples, and then he'd talk about something else. And again, it's like, and what the hell is that? This is amazing. And you're just on board with it. And he's
Yeah.
hilarious and insightful and engaging. And again, if he's back, he first of all he damn well better be
Better
back.
be back. Yeah.
But he will. He is. If he's back, is instantaneous in the must see category. Like, do not miss.
Yeah, and same as what you guys said. I was not at all prepared for how awesome his presentation was going to be. I was interested because I felt that we didn't quite get enough of him screen time during this most recent season of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. But holy cow, like, just like you guys say, he is so passionate about what he does that it's infectious. I mean, you said it perfectly, Johnny. I mean, sitting through a discussion about, bones and, anthropology, oh, yay, where do I sign up for that? No, it was like, I mean, it's, you can just tell how in love this guy is with what he does and the opportunity that being able to do investigations out at Skinwalker Ranch is something that he does not take lightly. He genuinely loves the challenge because, like we've all said all along, stuff that happens on Skinwalker Ranch shouldn't be possible according to the way we understand science and physics, but yet there it is. And he's one of the scientists that has been able to witness this firsthand, some of this strange phenomena, like the strange rates of decomposition of animals that have died on the ranch, and leading all the way up to the discovery of what looks very well, like I said, if nothing else, the descendant of a dire wolf. And um, the topic in and of itself is fascinating, but having Ben Woodruff do that presentation in the style and manner that he did, there was nobody that was sleeping. And folks, that was the one night at PhenomeCon where I got exactly 1 hour and 4 minutes of sleep the night before. So if there was anybody who was going to be dozing off, it would have been me. And I was wide awake. Hadn't even had my Mountain Dew for the morning. So I would rank Ben Woodruff's presentation in the top five for this year's PhenomeCon for sure. Absolutely loved it. So after Ben was done giving his presentation, we had lunch again, and I'm trying to remember what we did for lunch, guys. But I do know that the presentation after Ben Woodruff was a gentleman who actually doesn't even need a microphone, and that can only mean one person in the main ballroom. Dr. Travis Taylor gave his presentation. And of course, Travis's presentation, as it always is also one of the highlights because Travis just, well, Travis is Travis. He's a force of nature. And
Yep.
I, it does, Travis Taylor could just be reading the phone book and I'd just be like, oh my gosh, wow. Um, so, of course, I'm biased because Travis is my bandmate in Hitchhiker. I'm a huge Skinwalker Ranch fan, and I'm grateful enough to know Travis personally. And he's quickly become one of my favorite human beings. And so, of course, I loved Travis's presentation. Uh, John or Johnny, was there anything that stood out about Travis's presentation that you guys want to mention?
I, I like his presentation style is a little different from any other speaker. I don't even think he likes to do the presentation part. He likes to get out there. He talks for like 5 or 10 minutes, gives a little background. He's like, all right, I'll answer some questions. You all don't want to hear me talk. And then you end up with, an hour and 15 minutes of Q&A that always ends up being pretty interesting. Yeah, I
Which
love listening to him.
which is great because you're always going to get, and forgive me, folks, I don't mean to sound mean, but you always get that one or two person that asks the most stupid, ridiculous, asinine question, and you're just like, if you know Travis at all, as soon as you hear the question, you're just like, ooh, here it
Yep,
comes.
yep.
And to Travis's credit, most of the time Travis is pretty understanding and he handles those questions well. But there's been times in the past where the person asking the question, I'm sure, regrets asking the question, and
I
that's fun to watch too.
Yeah, and
I
some of
will
them don't.
say,
Oh, go
oh,
ahead. Go
sorry,
ahead.
no, you go
No,
ahead,
I was
Noah.
just
You're
gonna
good.
say some of them don't have a question. They just want to tell Travis what they think,
Right.
Right,
and that's not the
and
venue for that. And I think
it and
enough
he
of
does
those
such
people
a
show
wonderful
up.
job of handling that too. He's very diplomatic, and you can tell he cares. He respects people's time just as much as he wants them to respect his. So I love the way he responds to those moments, especially, or when someone asks a question where it's like, "Ooh, why did you ask that?" Or this is not
Right?
the place or the person. Why would you ask that? But he approaches it so, you know, with an educator's way of not deflecting, but disengaging the question a little bit and diffusing the situation where it otherwise could almost come off as volatile had he not done it that way. And I appreciate it. Whether he likes it or not, there's a reason I call him Uncle Travis.
Yep. Well, this year I think wasn't one of the out there questions was basically like uh, denying that we ever even went into space, let alone go to the moon.
Oh Lord, I missed that.
And
I
I,
thought his
I,
head was gonna pop off. Oh my God.
yeah, John, I think
Yes, I missed that.
you and I were backstage doing something with Roger, getting Roger a chair or something like that, and but I heard about it. And Johnny, you were there. How did that situation go down?
Well, he kind of puffed his face out a little bit for a couple seconds before he responded, and that's why I was like, "Oh God, what's he about to say? What's he about to
Here it
say?"
comes.
And he let that breath out, and he had a really nice answer, and he brought it back to the political stuff between us and the Soviet Union, and why certain things might appear certain ways, and why we probably did have a fake video just in case if we really needed it, but we didn't use it. We went to the moon, and he's really proud of that fact. And he circled back to talking about his dad and how awesome his dad is.
Yeah. And folks, for those of you that don't know, Travis Taylor's dad actually had the pleasure of working with and for Werner von Braun, the legendary German scientist that basically helped us get to the moon. And Travis's dad was one of the folks who got to work on those rockets back in the 1960s there in Huntsville, Alabama. So Travis, his lineage comes by honestly as far as the space program goes. And if there's anybody that would know, it would be Dr. Taylor. And so, yeah, Travis's presentation is always a good time. So after Travis, and I also have to make the point that much like with Jay Stratton, when Travis was talking, there were no other presentations going on at that time because it's such a big draw. So following Travis's presentation, we all broke for a little bit, and the afternoon presentations were Dr. Maria Mayor of Expedition Bigfoot, one of the most noted primatologists in the world, gave a presentation there in the main ballroom. I think really highly of Maria. She's a wonderful individual and just super smart at what she does. And also, our good friend Caleb Bench was giving his presentation in one of the ballrooms. And then Dean Alioto, a movie director who had done a film that they premiered at PhenomeCon there, was giving a presentation. And Cindy Kaza of the Holzer Files was also giving a presentation during that 3 o'clock time frame. Now, folks, while they were giving their presentation, John, you, me, and Jay and Johnny, I don't know if you were with us, but along with Dragon and Travis, we all met at Vernal Brewing Company to talk about some band stuff and also just to kind of have like a late lunch. So we missed Caleb's presentation and some of the others. Johnny, did
I
I
was there for Caleb's. I
for
went to
Caleb's?
support our good buddy Caleb,
Awesome.
and
Tell us about Caleb's presentation.
honestly, he should have been given the main room because there was not even standing room in that split mountain room. And I'm telling you, we were packed tighter than sardines because everyone wanted to hear him speak. The doors were pushed partially open just because of how many people were trying to sit in there.
Mhm.
And he talked about a lot of stuff on the ranch. He talked about a lot of stuff involving, just a little bit of background, who is Caleb Bench, because we all know him from The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, but do we really know him? So we talked a little bit about his background, and then he talked about paranormal happenings off the ranch, things that he and some of his colleagues from law enforcement have had happen, and I won't go into too many of the details, but he did touch on some, hitchhiker type activity stuff. And that stuff gets kind of scary. I know it can
Mhm.
be tough, especially as a father for him. I mean, I don't have kids, but I can only imagine
Right.
being on the other side of that in my past. It's not an easy thing to do, and we really do need to be appreciative of guys like Caleb for understanding taking that risk of possibly bringing things home. Things can happen, and he's just an all around awesome dude. And I'd say another word after bad, but I don't want to get us demonetized here, if you know what I'm saying, because he is that guy. He is
Yeah.
awesome. It was a great talk. I wish he was in the main room because
Yeah.
it was just that good.
Yeah. I've known Caleb for many years now. Roger and I had become good friends with him, and he is one of my absolute favorite people in the world for all the reasons that you just illustrated, Johnny. Caleb is a man of tremendous integrity and moral character. He is one of the most honest individuals I have the pleasure of knowing. And the fact that he does what he does and is able to do what he does, how can you have nothing but the utmost respect for Caleb Bench? And quite obviously, both Roger and I do. And I know that Roger was actually able to go to Caleb's presentation, um, but I agree. I think Caleb. I heard a little bit from Roger about some of the things that Caleb presented, and I agree. I think it would be wise for the PhenomeCon organizers to consider giving Caleb the main ballroom next year because he's that good of a presenter. And truly, folks, you wouldn't think of, but he is that great of a storyteller as well. He is a great storyteller, and he has got some firsthand eyewitness testimony accounts that he could share that would literally freeze you in your tracks that are so compelling. And so, yeah, Caleb's presentation, I'm sure, was just absolutely amazing. Um,
He had my heart beating pretty good at a couple times telling stories. It
I
was good.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And so then the final speakers for Friday was an ancient aliens panel. And of course, that featured Nick Pope, William Henry, I believe Travis Taylor participated in it. I think Jay Stratton also participated in it. And of course, Giorgio, and I always butcher his last name, so I'm not going to.
Sukalos.
Sukalos. There it is. Okay. Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
think about Sun Tzu or General So. It's pronounced so.
Okay.
I got tripped up. It's okay.
And I got to meet Giorgio for the first time ever at this PhenomeCon, and I was so impressed of what a genuinely nice, humble, down to earth guy he was. It's one of those times where I shook his hand and just kind of as we were passing in the hallway, and I told him my name and told him who I was and that I was with Hitchhiker, and he saw me about an hour later or so, and he says, "Hey Jim, how you doing?" It's like, holy cow. And I'm sorry, anybody that can do that when they first meet somebody that they're able to retain and remember your name when they see you later, that's a gift that all the really good politicians and all the really, people that genuinely try to make a positive impact when they meet somebody. And so I was absolutely nothing but impressed with Giorgio when I met him. Now I didn't get a chance to attend the Ancient Aliens panel. I was, I believe, it was something. I know there was something I was doing at the time, but I missed that panel. So did any of you happen to catch the Ancient Aliens panel?
No, I think Johnny and I were hanging out with the security staff at that time,
Ah,
if I
okay.
recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right
Yep,
on.
Pretty
I
cool
chatted with
guys.
them a little earlier today. They're good guys.
Yeah, they're very good guys. Very cool.
Eldon and Darren quickly
Yep.
became two of our favorite people there at the conference, and
Huge shout out to those guys.
Yep.
massive shout out to Darren, my Viking brother, and Eldon as well. Just yeah, got it. Hopefully those guys come back. If for no other reason, we got to have them as official band security, right?
Well, if we're out there next year, I have their information, as I mentioned, chatting with them. I will hit them up. And they're
Well,
going to hit me up because I know Eldon might end up in my neck of the woods at some point. So,
cool,
Very cool.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
those guys made such a big difference. I loved having those guys there.
me
You
too.
know, like their personalities fit in, and they kept telling me, like, most of the people we you provide security to are not as cool as the people we've been running into, doing this. Like, this is
Yeah,
like a different type of people.
yep,
So that was pretty fun.
yeah, definitely. So I'm sure the Ancient Aliens panel was awesome. And then of course we broke for Friday activities, and of course my Friday activity was the uh, Voice of the Believers open mic and dinner. And I believe both of you went to the Ancient Aliens VIP dinner, did you not, on Friday night?
Yeah,
Okay, so
did
John,
I?
I did.
well, I know
I
Johnny,
don't know if I did.
you weren't
Let
with
me check
me.
the photographic evidence here. I think someone posted it. I can't remember. I took a picture of it, I thought.
Well, it was
No, I
Rod.
don't think I went to that one. Because to be honest, I don't know what I did on Friday night.
Well, dude, why didn't you come with me and Roger? They still had they
My name was on it, I think, too.
we had
I
so
don't
much
know what I
food.
did on Friday.
We had so much food there at the and of course it's that amazing Dutch oven, chuck wagon barbecue
Yeah.
dinner. Oh, it's so good.
I'm This is how bad it is. After we finish up here, I will have to text my mother and ask her what I did on Friday night.
Oh, wait a second. I was thinking of the SWR dinner because you were there with your mom. I just
Correct.
remembered that I sat with Deb G and Mike Owen. Um,
Shout out
yeah,
to Mike, cool
where the
guy.
hell were you on
I don't
Friday?
know. This is
Was your dad having a dinner on Friday night?
I I I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I don't remember. I think this is going to be that point of contention in the comment section below. Try to figure out what I was doing.
Where was Johnny?
Well, help us solve the mystery, folks. Where were John and Johnny on Friday night?
No, I was at the aliens, at the ancient aliens dinner.
Okay. So,
I know
John,
that for certain.
you were at the Ancient Aliens dinner. Tell us about how that went.
Oh, it was great. It was really fun. You know, it. I don't remember too many memorable things about it, other than the fact that Giorgio doesn't like to eat in front of fans.
Ah, okay.
You know how they normally eat, go up there and they'd be eating along with us. It's a
Hmm.
dinner where everyone eats.
Hmm.
Yeah, so apparently he doesn't like to do that. So then Travis didn't have a meal because he didn't, he wanted to support, didn't want Giorgio to feel weird. So
Right.
it was pretty fun.
How was the food?
It was good. It was good.
Yeah. Good.
Definitely.
Good.
Yeah,
I
the
walked
food there
past it
is,
several times. It smelled really good when they were bringing it all in.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was tasty.
Well, folks, I can tell you that the Voice of the Believers open mic and dinner, which again is the activity that they hold out in the canyon at the Remember the Main State Park, just a little ways down the road from McConkey Ranch, in a beautiful red rock canyon. And as always, it's this Dutch oven chuck wagon style barbecue dinner. You have barbecue beef ribs, barbecue chicken breast, cooked all day in a Dutch oven. So good. The meat is so soft and tender. The barbecue sauce is so good. Ba- uh, Baked barbecue baked beans that I'm still having dreams about, and of course, like au gratin potatoes. And then for dessert, they have about 6 or 7 different kinds of cobbler with vanilla bean ice cream. And so, like peach cobbler, raspberry, blueberry, apple. I mean, you name it, every conceivable kind, along with homemade root beer to drink. And so it was food wise, it never ever disappoints, and you can always go back for seconds. And I will neither confirm nor deny whether or not I did. I did. But then, of course, after everybody's done eating, they have this beautiful bonfire. Everybody sits around and they have an open mic where attendees are welcome to share their experiences that they've had as an experiencer. And it can be whether or not they had a UAP sighting, whether they've had, ghost sightings, Sasquatch or cryptid sightings. This year, we had, for only the second time in 5 years, we had somebody that came forward and told an alien abduction story about how they believe they were abducted, not inducted, abducted by aliens. Bit of a word difference there, but it was great to listen to, and I didn't have the courage to stand up and give my experience, but Roger, on the other hand, did, and Roger did recount the story of what happened to he and I at PhenomeCon last year with the shadow being entity that we encountered during our stay at PhenomeCon last year. And there were a lot of PhenomeCon presenters that were at this Voice of the Believers. As I mentioned earlier, Dave Schrader was there, Greg Lawson was there. In fact, I think all of the let's see, all of the all of the Holzer panel folks were there. So Shane was there. I think Cindy was there. Paul Smith was there. It was kind of good to see him there. And so there were several of them. The Cypress Paranormal team, I think, showed up there. Chris Bartell showed up at dinner strictly because he wanted to come and say goodbye to Roger and I. He had to take off to head back home due to a weather emergency that was happening at his home. So Chris Bartell dropped by to see us during the dinner, which is always nice to see Chris Bartell. But that evening was again just another wonderful evening. Excellent food. You're out among the stars, and I have to report, gentlemen, I'm 90% certain I saw my first actual UAP that evening, and I can't say with 100% certainty, but I'm fairly certain, just based off of the maneuvers that it made. And I was not the only one there that saw it. There were several people that saw some truly anomalous objects in the sky there. So I may have, and I'm going to say may because I still can't say it with absolute certainty, but I'm about 90% certain that I saw my first ever UAP that evening there at the open mic dinner there. So that takes care of Friday. And gentlemen, that takes us to Saturday, the final day of PhenomeCon. And of course, there wasn't really anything of major note that happened on Saturday at PhenomeCon. So we can kind of wrap it up right now.
Yeah.
No.
Nice talking to y'all. Bye.
Right.
Yep.
So actually, folks, Saturday started off with the first presenter in the main ballroom was Mr. Missing 411 himself, Dave Politis. And so he gave his presentation. And on Saturday, I literally spent most of the day uh, just with musical instruments, making sure we had everything positioned and tuned and all kinds of stuff. My wife and sons were arriving that day, so I had to meet up with them. My sisters arrived earlier in the afternoon, so I had to connect with them. But after Dave Politis gave his talk, was one of the most looked forward to panels of the entire conference. And of course, that is the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch panel. And they literally had everybody except, gosh, what's his name? Why can't I think of the guy?
The short guy that wears the tan shirt.
The missing chief
Eric,
investigator.
Yeah.
Eric. Sorry. So yeah, Eric was the only one that wasn't there, unfortunately. But you had Travis and Caleb and Thomas. Dragon was there, if I'm not mistaken. Jay Stratton was there. Chris Roberts was there, and just had a great presentation, as they always do. Their presentation is always a lot of fun, and they kind of did the same thing Travis did, if I'm not mistaken, where they basically just opened it up to questions for the bulk of their panel. Did they not?
For the bulk, yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of the way I remember it as well. But of course, it's always a enjoyable time when the Skinwalker Ranch guys are doing their panel. So after they were finished, we of course broke for lunch, and that was when we were also waiting for the Hanks brothers to arrive, the North Carolina contingent, right, John? And
Correct.
we joined Caleb and Micah and Caleb's wonderful wife Charlotte at Vernal Brewing Company and had a nice lunch with my family. And so the afternoon speakers, after we had the lunch break, was we had Jessica Chobot was giving a presentation in the main ballroom, and Nick Pope was giving a presentation in the Paradise Room, and that was one talk that I wish I'd been able to make it there to see. And then they wrapped up the day speaker wise with it was supposed to be George Norrie and George Knapp. And of course, that's not how it turned out because George Knapp ended up having to cancel coming to PhenomeCon because he heard that Eric Bard had canceled. And he said, well, if Eric Bard's not going to be there, then fuck it, I'm not going. So, no, actually, what happened is George Knapp decided that, well, he didn't decide. He was actually asked, I don't know if subpoena would be the right word, but George Knapp couldn't attend PhenomeCon this year because he had to testify in front of the House Oversight Committee on the following Tuesday at the UAP hearing. And we'll talk about that before we wrap things up just real briefly. But so George Norrie gave a talk, and on stage he had Richard Estep and Thomas Winterton. And I believe there was one other person that was up there with them. Can't recall immediately who it was because by this time we were literally moving all of our instruments to the area where we had to have them set up because as soon as the last speaker is done, the PhenomeCon staff tear down all the stuff on the stage so that the band can upload their instruments onto the stage. So this whole time that the last speaker is going on, we were backstage handling all the behind the scenes stuff for Hitchhiker. Now the cool thing is, I actually did get to meet George Norrie very briefly, and of course George Norrie is the longtime host of the syndicated radio program Coast to Coast AM. He shares that duty often with George Knapp, but of course both of them inherited the mantle from the great Art Bell, who used to be the person that used to run Coast to Coast AM. So I did get to shake George Norrie's hand and did get to talk to him. And apparently he's a huge Elvis fan, which I thought was really cool to find out. But really enjoyed getting to meet George Norrie. So, folks, that then brings us to
Well,
the.
oops,
Go ahead.
I hit my
Whoa.
mic.
Ooh.
I didn't want to skip one really cool thing, the rocket launch.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
The rocket launch this year was very special.
Oh,
Yeah, because PJ and I believe it's Brian, right?
Brian,
yes.
PJ and Brian. Yep.
They made a real rocket that looks exactly like Travis's favorite guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a working rocket. So among the other rockets they launched on Saturday, they also launched this Les Paul into the sky, and it was amazing. Like I was still a little worried. I'm like, they say it's going to fly, but what does a flying guitar look like? Well, now we know. Like it kind of spun a little bit, but boy, it was awesome.
I tell you, it flew better than the Travis rockets, the ones he built.
Yeah.
It was
It was
amazing.
it
I
was
have a
so
really good
fun.
video of it too. I need to forward it to you guys, but I sent it. I sent it through to Travis, so we'll see what he says. But it's a great video.
It was so wonderful.
And
It was
and
cool.
Michelle and I actually recorded video of PJ and Brian presenting that rocket to him
Mm-hmm.
after the Skinwalker Ranch dinner
Yep.
on Thursday night, and Travis's face just lit up, and he got this biggest grin on him, and he's like, "Are you effing kidding
Yeah.
me?"
That actually was one of the highlights of the week.
Yeah,
Was the presentation back in the green room area.
Seeing that smile made my
Yeah.
day.
yeah,
It was wonderful.
Yeah, a
'Cause
huge
nothing
shout
makes
out. I
Travis
hope they're
happier.
watching.
I hope so too. Because that was
Yeah, PJ,
honestly
Brian,
one
we
of the
love you
highlights.
guys. You are
Yes.
amazing. Thank you guys.
yes,
And
that
they're
was.
making a flying V rocket for
They
next year.
already have one and it flies really,
Ooh,
really well.
Yep. They asked,
yeah,
I said, hey,
I'm
we'll
gonna
make
have to
one, like
I'm gonna
do
have to
it.
talk to Brian about maybe making a one for my Gretsch.
Flying Gretsch.
Flying Gretsch. Yeah, there we go. But no, that was. I'm so glad you brought that up, John, because We were actually invited by Travis to come to the rocket launch, um, and I'm so glad that we did because it was really really enjoyable to watch that guitar get launched like it did. And being true to form, as Jonny can attest, I kind of tweaked my ankle trying to climb up one of the embankments, and that was a shadow of things to come that would happen a day or so later. So we'll get to that. But no, that rocket launch was something really awesome. PJ and Brian, uh, honestly, that you have no idea how much that made Travis's day, and really really made a big difference with Travis's PhenomeCon experience and being able to be given that gift. That much I can attest to for sure. So that brings us to the Hitchhiker performance, right? And
Yes.
now, obviously, we don't have our other bandmates here, and we haven't officially had a post PhenomeCon band meeting yet. Hopefully, we do soon. But I can tell you from my perspective, and John, you can tell me your perspective, and Jonny as well. I think that Hitchhiker's performance this year in every way blew last year's performance out of the water. We were so much more, I think, in tune with each other because we have played multiple shows with each other so far. Um, Even though the fact that several of the songs that we played at this PhenomeCon, we never even rehearsed once as a band. So um, my overall experience with Hitchhiker this year was so much better and so much more enjoyable, so much more memorable than PhenomeCon 2024 was. I genuinely enjoyed it. The one thing I did not enjoy at all was watching myself on camera. I I am ashamed of how I appear on camera. But that's nobody can do anything about that but me. And so I'm going to use that as fuel to make sure that the next time Hitchhiker plays, I'm going to look a hell of a lot better than I did
Yeah.
on this video this time around. But
Same here. With Johnny's help.
We're gonna get it, y'all. I'm
right,
no expert, but I know a thing or two, and I'm really looking forward to seeing y'all in your new form someday.
That's
I
right.
mean, we're
That's
gonna
right.
get there, little by little. But I
yeah.
do gotta say, Jimm, Epic is now in my playlist
Hmm.
because dude, you rocked that song, brother. You did. It was great.
Thank you. I don't know if you guys remember what I was telling you before we performed that, but we knew that Travis was going to be taking a break uh, halfway during the set because he needed to use the restroom, and so the rest of the band were trying to come up with something that we could do other than Micah performing Eruption, which of course is, one of the can't miss numbers that Hitchhiker always do because Micah is honestly that good of a guitar player. But we came up with a bunch of these songs, and one of the ones that we decided upon was a song that actually your dad, Jonny, had mentioned, which is Epic by Faith No More, which has always been one of my favorite songs. Came out when I was a senior in high school, I believe, but I absolutely adore that song. And so we weren't sure how we were going to pull it off because we didn't know if we needed Travis to do it. And so I kind of was like, well, let me put it into the lineup with my other band, my Flynn's Arcade band that I perform with regularly here in Utah. And so we'd been performing it. I'd had the chance to perform it a number of times with Flynn's Arcade, but that particular day at PhenomeCon, I wasn't having the best of days. Not only had I tweaked my ankle, but there were some other things that had happened that had really frustrated and bothered me, which I won't go into, but just a lot of stress and anxiety. And so I decided, okay, when it comes time for me to perform that song, I'm going to channel all of that negative and angry energy into my performance for that song. And so that's what I did. and
It
I
worked.
I have I honestly have no memory of the performance. I remember walking up to the microphone, I remember Micah saying something like, "We're now going to turn it over to Jim Kelgard," and most people in the audience were like, "The fat guy? What's what's he going to do?" And in fact, I think I heard somebody up in the front row say something about who's the fat guy. So that added to, that's
You
probably one
must
of
have
the
been hearing things, man, because they were cheering for you.
I, that's honestly my only memory was somebody off to my left. I think was saying the fat guy. What's he gonna do? Probably Darren. That's probably who it was, right? just busting my chops. But no, I honestly don't have any memory except for when I do remember when Travis came up on stage to join us for the last bit, and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, Travis is going to kick my ass because he's going to be pissed off I didn't do a good enough job." Um, but that's honestly about the only memory that I have of it. And then after we got off stage, that was when the rest of the band took their leave of the stage and went to take a break. And my sisters met me outside, and my sisters were all like, "We had no idea you had it in you to do that." And I'm like, "What?" They're like, "We didn't know you were a rapper. We didn't know you could belt it out like that." And so I was like, "Oh, I guess I didn't do too bad." And then I saw the video, and I'm like, "Holy cow, I am that fat." That's all I can focus on. Oh. And I was doing so good too because, gosh, I started the year. I've lost 10 inches around my waist since the beginning of the year, and quite obviously, it's not enough.
In fairness, the angle of a lot of cameras for that, it's not very flattering for all of you guys because it's a little lower angle. It's not the best, but the music is what tells the story, and it was really good.
I thought, despite our difficulties, again for the second year in a row, we had sound system issues. Although this time the guys were really good. I think there was just a miscommunication about when to get things set up. So we still didn't really get a sound check. We still didn't really have a monitor mix. So it was still difficult to hear on stage. Not as hard as last year. Last year we could not hear each other. We did none of us on
Yeah.
stage knew what was going on. It was really hard. This year was better. Um, but I think in the end, yeah, I think our performances were better. I think we looked more like a band, and I thought the audience was having a blast. And yeah, I just had a really good time, playing in Eric Bard's crappy band. Even
Yeah.
if he thinks we're a crappy band,
And no,
we had fun. Damn it!
come on, it's a shitty rock band, and that's
That's right. That's right. I believe that was the exact quote.
and I
Yeah.
will I will take that as the greatest compliment that can come from that kind of origin. But no,
Oh boy.
I agree. I think our sound this year was actually better. I do lament the fact that it wasn't set up for us earlier, because had it been,
Yep.
we it only took us, I timed it. It took us exactly 13 minutes to get everything set up, including the drum
Mm-hmm.
kit, because of course we had Jonny there to help us. We had my
Mm-hmm.
wife and my two sons there to help us,
Yep.
and we got set up on that stage really fast.
Yep. I think if
Um,
we had the exact same guys next year, just with the stuff set up, ready to go when we're ready to go do our part,
yeah,
it would just be freaking amazing.
I completely agree. And I'm just going to tell you right now, the songs that I think we absolutely killed it on, TNT, I think we just blew that one out of the water. First time we played that one. Living After Midnight by Judas
Mm-hmm.
Priest, I think we completely slayed that. That's another one that we never rehearsed together.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy Train,
Really,
Crazy Train. I think we nailed that one. That's one that we never played together, that I'm aware of. And there's another one I know I'm forgetting. Um, there's a whole list. There was two more, um, but just goes to show that this time I think because we were more focused, and we did have one rehearsal with all of us there back in June,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't record. We didn't even perform some of those songs. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I I really enjoyed the Enter Sandman was another one I think that we nailed pretty
I
pretty
haven't heard that
solidly.
yet. I need to go back and listen to it.
I think that
It was
was
a
really
lot of
good.
fun to play. It sounded good to me on stage,
Yeah.
but I haven't heard
And
the
Home
recording.
Sweet Home. I think we did a really good job on Home Sweet Home. Um, and so I have to also we have to tip of the hat to Miriam for recording the entire performance for us. Thank you, Miriam, for everything that you do there. And
You're the
Michelle
best.
Michelle caught some great footage as well. My sister recorded about half of the performance, and the footage that she filmed meshes pretty well with the other stuff that we've seen. But there were so many songs this year that we were just spot on and tight as can be. We did, of course, play two originals that nobody has ever heard before, Tether and I Bet They Rock and Roll. And I'm really looking forward, folks, to you folks hearing Tether has been fully recorded. It's just a matter of getting it mixed and mastered and released, and that will be coming very soon. So stay tuned on that. But overall, gentlemen, I have to say I had so much fun performing this year at PhenomeCon, more so than I did in, the year before, which I didn't think was going to be possible. And like you said, John, we're playing more cohesively as a band. I think we kind of know how to play off of each other, which if you're a musician, that's half the battle right there, is being able to figure out, okay, how is this person going to flow into this? Um, so overall, I would give, from a band member's perspective, I would give us two big thumbs up. I think we did great. Wasn't a perfect performance, but how
No,
many
no.
live performances, unless you're somebody like Pink Floyd or Phil Collins, are going to be perfect? There's
I
always
mean,
going to be.
if we'd had a couple rehearsals, I wouldn't have complained. Like at least
Man,
one would have been pretty good, but
I I
Right.
probably
it
come at
turned
it
out.
from a unique perspective because I'm just the roadie essentially. I'm off to the side. I'm not playing. I'm a terrible musician, honestly. But you guys did amazing, and I think that you will see the imperfections more than the crowd will ever.
Right.
And no, I don't think anybody noticed anything wrong with what you guys did, and it was just beautiful music, very intimate with the crowd. Even though like 1,000 plus people that were in there, they all felt like they were right there, part of it. And I really would like to get those sound check problems worked out, but I like the idea of having that sound check with the
Mhm.
people in there to show the human aspect because it was really nice. I know we talked
Oh,
about that before.
and we
Yeah.
learned something else new. There was that feedback throughout the entire show, and none of us could ever figure out what it was, driving us all crazy. At some point, I thought it was me. Everyone else at some point thought it was them. Turned out to be a live mic for the room, for the facility was on and
Well,
picking us up and feeding back.
there were
So,
also two or three separate incidents, though, where stupid me had, instead of placing the tambourine back on the guitar stand, or when I took my cowboy hat off and set it on top of my one of my synthesizers, that droning synth sound
oh,
happened throughout at least two different songs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds like. So I'm looking over at my synth, and I'm like, there's the tambourine sitting on top of the one synthesizer, and I took it off. It's like, oh gosh, I'm so
And as a
thick-headed.
member of the crowd that was out there, I had noticed and this is rare for me to notice sounds. I had noticed that there was like this just constant little tone that I thought was coming from your synth, but I thought that it actually fit and it worked. That
it was intentional, Jimmy.
honestly, it worked. It
That
it just it filled not the dead space, the dead zones necessarily, but it kind of brought a little bit of a harmony into that aspect. I think it worked, and I think you need to put your hat down more.
So there you go, folks. My tambourine is the seventh member of Hitchhiker.
Well, you weren't the only one that had a mess up like that. At the start of Tether, I have a patch on my pedal to shift it up a half step so I can get some open strings because
Mm-hmm.
it's too hard to play without open strings.
Right.
But on stage, with just the monitor mix we had and with earplugs in, Micah and I couldn't tell if we were in tune. And that's been one of my worries is like, are we all going to pick the same tuning for this song? And we're playing next to each other, and on stage, it did not sound like we were in tune.
Mhm.
So I leaned over, turned off the pitch shifter on the patch that I use, and we go back and we try it, and we're like, okay, that sounds pretty good. Watch the recording, and you can see us doing this, and you can hear us playing. Initially, we're in tune, guys. We couldn't tell on stage, but we were in tune. And then I go back, turn off the pitch shifter, go back. Now we're not actually in tune. And we're like, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Like I go through a whole verse and I'm like, nope, we're out of tune. So at some point I scrambled back, turned it back on, and then it was fine. But
Yeah.
it's funny that in the recording you can hear it clearly, but on stage it's just so hard to hear when you're wearing earplugs. There's other sounds going on, the crowd cheering, crowd noise, other people playing guitars and stuff while you're trying to hear each other.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
again, that's the sort of thing you work out in a rehearsal.
Right.
But this is rock
And
and roll.
again,
We don't do rehearsals.
I don't think anybody but you guys can tell. And it's
Well,
not
now that I
to
mentioned
say
it,
that we're
people.
illiterate in music, but it's everyone just enjoyed the show and
Yep.
loved the music.
That's
It's
all that
hard to
mattered.
tell if you're a little bit
Simple.
off of time or a little bit out of tune.
Yep.
It's very minor in the grand scheme of things.
Yep. People loved it, and that is literally all I care about. People had a
Yeah.
blast.
And I
My
had
opinion's the only one that matters here.
Right.
no,
Wait a second. Wait.
What?
I have a complaint.
Uh-oh.
Where was the tub of liquor that was supposed to be by the side of the stage?
Okay.
That's
What?
Roger. That is Roger's fault because Roger was unable to be there. So Roger took the
then
tub of
that's
liquor.
okay.
Roger took
I'm
the tub of liquor home with him. So
I'm gonna sell some people out here, and I bet if they see this, they're gonna love this. So the crew, the production crew, cameramen, all these guys from Skinwalker Ranch went on a beer run before the show. There's a lot of these guys, and each one was carrying, I think, at least 2 cases each when they walked in. That beer was gone before the third song.
wow.
I'm talking hundreds of beers gone. And I went and I snagged Caleb's beers, so because he doesn't really care if they get warm. So I snagged his beers and had them sitting there, so he had what he needed for the duration of the show plus a little. And then I had Travis's beers. Good Lord, how we ran out of beer so fast. I had one beer, and then I went back there to grab a couple more because Travis was going to end up wanting one, I was sure. Gone. And they were just having a party back there. Big party.
I
And they,
didn't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, they said a quote that it's such a good quote. It's more fun to drink Travis's beer.
I ended up not needing beer. I needed energy drinks, and thankfully a friend brought 3 energy drinks, and then I think you brought waters. Somebody brought some waters. That's what I had was energy drinks and water.
Yeah, I brought the big things of the smart water. I brought 6 of them and put them on stage. I think Jay took one. I used 2, and then while they were sitting off to the side, while security was busy doing something over on Micah's side of the stage, somebody from the crowd comes up, reaches over, grabs one of my bottles of water, unopened ones, and takes it and takes off. And I'm like,
Well, we promote good
kidding me?
hydration.
Yeah, especially for a guy that's on stage with the band performing. Come on. But last
And
year
we had a whole case on the other side.
right? So yeah, but it was once again it was great because from my perspective, being all the way over on stage left, right next to me I had Jay, and then we had Travis, and then we had Caleb, and then Micah, and then you, John, and I just loved how we all at various times during the performance. Sometimes I would go all the way down to where you were, John, and when I'm playing the guitar, and then it seemed like every time I went down to where you were like, oh, Jim's down here. I got to get away from him. And then you'd bolt over to
I try to have a balanced stage. That's my goal, so we can kind of mix it up a little bit.
Right?
Natural performers.
So it was a lot of fun. I still there one of the greatest joys is looking, being there on stage left and looking over to my right, and there's Jay Mother Effin Stratton and Dr. Travis Taylor, one of my favorite human beings in the whole world, Caleb Hanks, behind that drum kit, just
Yep.
beating the shit out of the drum kit. And then his amazing brother Micah, and then over on the far right, my other brother from another mother, John Nyberger, there, bringing the thunder. And Travis kind of had nicknames for all of us that night. I can't remember. He was calling. Jay was always Jay Mother Effin Stratton every time he mentioned Jay's name. Forget what he called Micah or Caleb, and he called me the Norse god of
Keys.
cocaine or something like that. I don't know.
Norse god of keys.
Norse god of keys. Oh, okay. So it was so much fun, and the audience was clearly digging what we were doing, and I just hope we get to do it again next year. I would love for the opportunity to come back next year, and because I know that next year will be even better than we were this year. Uh,
Yep.
I just know it, and there's
Well,
no
we'll have at
place,
least one rehearsal
at
because
least one.
we may be playing on the cruise.
That's right.
So if we're playing a cruise, that counts as a rehearsal. So next year at PhenomeCon, we will have rehearsed at least once, even if it was 8 months prior to the show. And we'll probably
Absolutely.
do all new songs so that we'll be back to not having a rehearsal again.
Well, and we're going to have to try the acid polka and disco bluegrass that me and Caleb
Mm-hmm.
have been
Mm-hmm.
talking about. So, and Travis actually seemed kind of interested in the idea of an acid polka. So we'll see what comes of that. But then, of course, there was the always awesome after party and the after party that just kind of made the PhenomeCon experience just absolutely sweet. And um, the best way that I can sum it up is that I 100% love my bandmates. I love Jay. I love Travis. I love Micah and Caleb, and I love you, John, and you, Jonny, as well. You're all part of the same family for me, and it's truly a privilege and an honor that I have to share the stage with all of my bandmates. And one of my favorite things was getting to hang out with you as much as I did, Jonny, having you over to my house for a little bit before you went to PhenomeCon, and bringing the drum kit back to us, and getting to visit with you for a while, getting to know you a little bit better. And of course, all the Stratton family. I didn't get to spend as much time hanging out with Michelle as I would have liked to, but got to meet your
She
uncle
was
Chris.
stuck in a booth.
Yeah, right. Got to meet your uncle Chris, Jonny. He was cool to get to know and hang out with him for a little bit. And just overall, let's just kind of tie this up with our final thoughts and remarks on PhenomeCon 2025. Uh, Come back to me, John. Let's start with you. We'll start with you. What was your final thoughts and remarks on PhenomeCon 2025? What did you love? What did you not like? And what are you looking forward to for next year?
Man, what did I love? Almost everything. I mean, Insider Family Reunion, the Jay's talk, Dave Schrader's talk, Ben Woodruff's talk. Um,
Paul
Other than
Smith.
that, just,
Paul Smith.
yeah, Paul Smith. I mean, that stuff. The problem with PhenomeCon is there's too much good stuff. There's so many. You always are going to be missing something good because you have to make a choice. So that's why the next year you're like, okay, well, I saw that person that year. I need to go see this person this year. And then they've added another person in the same slot. So now you got to go see them. And, but it's just fantastic. I mean, you meet, being able to hang out with all you guys, literally. I mean, people think we're probably joking, but you guys are the Strattons and Travis and all these other people and UGM, and we're family now. As far as I'm concerned, it's family. And even the people who unfortunately couldn't make it, Annie, and Dennis, and I mean, hell, Annie's a sister. Give me a break.
Right.
I really missed not having her here this year. So, um, yeah, but I mean, PhenomeCon, it's a lot of it to me. It's the people you meet. You meet some good people, a couple of bad people. Um, And I think my final thought is I don't like barnacles. I'll leave it at that.
Barnacles. All right. Fascinating. Johnny, how about you?
Two people will get that.
I may have gotten that. Oh gosh. PhenomeCon. It's funny that a little event in Little Vernal, Utah, could have such an impact on my life. Like I can't describe it in any other way than to just say I'm really just blessed to be able to have you guys. My other uncles. I've gotten so many uncles now. It's not I can't even count. But just to see all these people I love and
And a new
just care
grandma.
about. Yeah, I have that pine cone. Funny enough, I put it in my luggage. I have it. Funny little side story, of course. But yeah, so I'm just really thankful because I get to see these people who are my extended family and I get to meet your families. It's so amazing to finally meet some people that just, I hear about every now and then, but now I have all this wonderful extended family. I'm just very, very blessed for that. But also, it's kind of surreal too because just by the virtue of what my last name is, people treat me like I'm some kind of celebrity too. And, I was introduced to George Norrie like I'm some kind of celebrity by Giorgio. He was like, "Hey, have you met George yet?" And took me over and introduced me in such a gracious and undeserved way, to be truthfully honest. I mean, just it's surreal for me to be able to go out there, see all these wonderful people we see on TV that we interact with a little bit, but y'all really are family, and I appreciate you guys. I really do.
Likewise. And you are every bit the rock star that your dad and mom are. Trust me. And I mean that most sincerely. Despite the fact you're a Ravens fan, I'm willing to let that slip. But uh, but yeah, for me, guys, Phenomicon. I'm not joking when I say that Phenomicon is what my calendar year revolves around for both Roger and I. And some of the highlights for me were, uh, you know, obviously Jay's talk, Dave Schrader's talk, Paul Smith, anything pertaining to Skinwalker Ranch. Um, the wonderful lunch we had with Caleb Bench, where I got to finally meet Mike Owen in person. Of course, Jeff Freeman's podcasting partner. Cannot say enough good things about Mike Owen. He is every bit as cool in person as he is on Jeff's podcast. And getting a chance to hang out with him, and I had the pleasure of introducing him to Jim Royston, who, Mike being an engineer, he was one of the people he was most excited to meet was Jim Royston. So I'm grateful I had a chance to facilitate that meeting right there. And so getting to know Mike Owen was really nice, and Mike's wife as well, who is an absolute sweetheart. I really enjoyed having my wife and my sons there, uh, even if it was just for the one day. And so now everybody knows that I am in fact married. My wife is real, and she's of course absolute sweetheart of a lady. And she loved meeting your mom, Johnny. She thought that your mom was just the most awesome thing. Hopes that we get a chance to in the not too distant future where my wife can spend more time with your mom to get to know your mom a little bit better. If the world is ready to have the two Michelles hanging out for any length of time. But I keep trying to tell my wife she's got to come out to Alabama with me one of these times so we can all hang out there together. But and having both of my sons there, I'm very close to my family. My boys are two of my best friends in the world. That's just kind of the relationship I have with my sons. I'm very close to them, and having them there to be part of the Hitchhiker performance meant a great deal to me. Having my sisters there as well. I was not planning on my sisters coming. One of them came all the way from Florida. The other one came all the way from Arizona, and one sister is based here in Utah. But to have them there to experience the Phenomicon experience was great to see them and to have their support there was something I can't put a price tag on. But of all the people that I got to meet, Giorgio Sukalos. Did I get that right?
I
He
hope
was
so, because I'm saying it that way.
he was
I could be wrong.
Giorgio was one of my favorites. Really enjoyed talking to him, and he was kind enough to take a selfie with me and him. I love that. And of course, getting to know Paul Smith a little bit more. Had some great conversations with Paul throughout the several days that we were hanging out there together. Um, so this year's PhenomeCon was so much better than any of the previous years. It really is a much bigger event now, and it does get better every year. And I'm experiencing that, despite some of the negativity that happened this year, uh, was far outshined by the overwhelming positivity and good times that we had. Got to give a shout out to Bridget and Leisha and all the folks that organize PhenomeCon. They do an absolutely brilliant job. It
Yep.
only gets better every year, and I just have to give nothing but a massive tip of the hat, major love and respect to Bridget and Leisha for everything that they do in making PhenomeCon happen. Um, I cannot
And they
wait
had
for
some extra curveballs thrown at them this year that, so I mean,
they
they are adept at handling stressful switch ups, and I think they did a good job this year.
they
While being
did.
amazingly kind.
Yes.
Amazingly kind, yes. And also got to give a shout out once again to Darren and Eldon, the event security that were there to help the band out. Um, just think the world of both of those guys. Those guys were awesome, especially Darren. Really loved hanging out with Darren and getting to know him. And we also would be remiss, folks, if we did not recognize that one of the PhenomeCon attendees, somebody who has always been a big part of PhenomeCon in the past, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, of course, had to cancel his appearance at PhenomeCon this year. And we just learned the devastating news just a few days ago that Dr. Meldrum has, in fact, passed away. And I had the pleasure of getting to meet Dr. Meldrum at several of the previous PhenomeCons, had some great conversations with him. He was always a fantastic presentation giver, really knowledgeable about his field of study with Bigfoot. And so the field of Bigfoot research and cryptid and hominid research suffered a devastating loss with the passing of Dr. Meldrum, and definitely want to recognize what a wonderful human being he was, and what a just what a great contributor he was to this great field of research that he was engaged in. And certainly send my best wishes to Dr. Meldrum's family and loved ones in that regard, on behalf of the soul of the unexplained and our wonderful panel here of John Nyberger and Johnny Stratton and Roger Stokes as well. And just overall, PhenomeCon 2026, it was awesome. Wasn't too crazy about the fall that I suffered. And for those that weren't aware, on my way home from PhenomeCon, filling up the car with gas, I suffered a fall that initially I didn't think was anything too bad. I mean, when you're a 300-pound guy and you fall on the concrete, it's never going to be an enjoyable experience. But I managed to hit my head pretty hard, head first into a metal pole, and then as I bounced off that, my knee hit pretty hard on the pavement, and then I hit my head again on the pavement when I went down. And so I ended up getting myself a doozy of a concussion. And like the moron that I am, I drove 3 hours to get home when I could have easily let my son drive, which I'm sure didn't do me any favors. But I'm thankful to say that I am doing better. My back still hurts. My joints and muscles are still pretty sore. My knee is still tore up pretty good, but um, at least I can see straight now, kind of. And but that notwithstanding, and some of the other behind the scenes uh, stuff that went on that we won't get into, it was overall just a wonderful experience. Got to hang out with my friends for 4 or 5 days and put everything that I had into that Hitchhiker performance, and just want to issue a very heartfelt and sincere thank you and all my deepest appreciation to everybody that attended the Skinwalker Ranch Insider Family Reunion. It was so nice to get to know so many of you, and hope to see all of you and maybe even some more at next year's family reunion. And just can't wait for that. So overall, for me, it was just an awesome time, and can't wait to do it again. Hopefully, knock on wood here, the cruise does happen for Hitchhiker. Now the cruise is happening, whether Hitchhiker or not, but we know that we're still working feverishly behind the scenes to make sure that the band can be a part of that, of the Skinwalker Uncharted cruise. So as far as that goes, all we can tell you is stay tuned. But we've got some exciting things coming up here for the Soul of the Unexplained. Want to extend once again our sincerest wishes for a quick recovery for Roger Stokes, who at the present time is in the hospital with some issues. Those of you that have been wondering about Roger know that he was scheduled for surgery the day after PhenomeCon, and sadly, I can tell you this much about it. He was all prepped and ready for surgery on Monday morning. They even went so far as to completely knock him out. He was fully anesthetized, and shortly thereafter, the doctor decided to cancel the surgery. So all that fuss and all that stuff to have the surgery delayed. Roger's got to undergo some additional tests before they will proceed forward with the surgery again. So as of this moment, Roger still has not yet had the life-saving heart surgery that he has to have. He's still not in the best of condition. Those of you know that even though he was at PhenomeCon, he wasn't able to move around very often, and he kept having to drive on 2 occasions back and forth from Vernal to Salt Lake City and back again for pre-operation, blood work and stuff like that for the surgery on Monday that ultimately got canceled. So you can imagine how frustrating it is for Roger and his wife to have these delays. But he is currently in the hospital with an unrelated, a matter unrelated to his heart condition, but still serious in its own right. So if you'll join me in please wishing Roger a quick recovery and sending thoughts and prayers his way and his wife Brittany's way, we'd sure appreciate it, and I know they would as well. So Roger, we miss you. I can't wait for you to join us again. And Jonny, if it's okay with you, I guess we can go ahead and make the announcement of we're happy to welcome a 4th member to the Soul of the Unexplained team, and that is Mr. Jonny Stratton. So welcome, Jonny. I know.
Yeah.
Applause. Insert applause sound here.
I have one on my little deck thing here, but it doesn't play, unfortunately. No, I'm happy to be a part of it. I feel, unworthy sometimes of that. Just I'm really excited to be able to take part, and maybe we can go on to do bigger and greater things. I'm hoping that we get more subscriptions.
Yes.
Right down below, like, subscribe, comment, all those fun things, because if you want to see more of me, you want to see more of all of us, we do this for you, but we'd love to have more interaction with you guys down below.
Absolutely. Well said. And hit that thumbs up, smash that like button, because we like likes. And as Jonny says, yes, if you haven't yet, folks, please hit that subscription button there. And we've got some exciting things coming up we're going to be talking about. We're going to do an episode in the not too distant future about the recent UAP hearing and the UAP footage that's controversial. It was presented during that hearing that featured George Knapp and several other whistleblowers, people that came forward and offered up their testimony. So we're going to do an episode on that. We still have the episode coming up on shadow beings. We're still trying to organize that and get all of our ducks in a row for that, and just all kinds of other fun stuff. Got some special guests we're going to be inviting on, and I keep saying, folks, we're going to have an all Hitchhiker episode of the Soul of the Unexplained, and we may not be able to get Travis or Jay, but both Micah and Caleb have agreed to come on and join us for that. And who knows? We're going to talk pretty much exclusively about music. We might just be able to convince Travis to join us, and who knows? Jay might pop in his head and say, "Hi." That's how
if
you
y'all are talking music, you'll get him talking. You'll be surprised.
So that's what we're hoping to organize here in the not too distant future. So with that, folks, again, we want to thank you. And closing remarks, John, we'll start with you. Anything you want to add?
Nope,
Subtract,
nope.
multiply, divide? Go
Nope, nope.
Broncos.
I'm I'm sitting here trying not to get updates on the game, and a friend of mine keeps texting me, so I'm trying to ignore it.
Go Raiders.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
they
it's
play
apparently
tomorrow
really
night.
close, you know? Yeah, very close, I'm sure. I'm totally looking it up just to tease you.
Jerks.
Jonny, closing thoughts or remarks from you?
I'm happy to be here, happy to have you guys. And like we already said, like, subscribe, comment, even if you got something negative to say. It drives it drives the podcast up. So go ahead and leave it behind.
Well, unless you're going to be an asshole, then I have to be an asshole back. Oh, no, no.
It drives engagement.
It does. It does.
It
It does.
does.
And in that spirit, folks, just want to close on kind of a somber and solemn take. In light of what has happened in my home state this past week with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, those of you that have been longtime subscribers that know me on Facebook or offline know that I am politically an independent. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. In fact, what I tell people is because I was born and raised in New York, I'll never be a Democrat. And because I've lived in Utah for 31 years, I will never be a Republican. So I am an independent when it comes to politics. I don't have a horse in the race. I care about my country. I care about specific issues. And I support and defend the Constitution of the United States in this great constitutional republic that we call the United States of America. Now, folks, social media has been a blessing and a curse. And unfortunately, for some people, social media brings out the absolute worst side of them because it becomes an echo chamber where oftentimes people are expressing their views, which of course there is nothing wrong with expressing your opinion. But sometimes we allow ourselves collectively to get carried away sometimes when we do that. And in the process of expressing our opinion about one thing or the other, we often sort to using words that maybe shouldn't be used to describe people who don't subscribe to the same viewpoints that we do. And far too often, it seems, we make it too easy to marginalize, mock, berate, and just plain be an asshole to people that don't share our views. And unfortunately, social media has really normalized that practice. And it used to be that by and large, we'd be able to agree to disagree and leave it at that and still be respectful and still be civil to one another, regardless of what side of a particular issue or what political party you affiliate with. And sadly, we've let outrage and anger control the tenor of our discourse when it comes to public interactions. And that's for both social media and, forgive me, the mainstream media as well. It seems to become so tribalistic. And again, I'm not trying to demonize one side or the other. If there's anything I'm trying to demonize here, it's the act of demonization of people that don't look like us, people that don't think like us, people that don't vote like us. Folks, we have to stop doing that. I'm a student of history, and one thing I can tell you is that you look at the worst acts in history, and I'll use World War II as a great example. The Holocaust happened not like that. It took several years for all of that to take place. And it began with the dehumanization of a specific class of people. And before you knew it, the Nazis were in control, and they had not just singled out the Jews, they had singled out anybody in academia that disagreed with them, the intellectuals, the people that were handicapped or had infirmities. These are the people that they set out to eliminate. These were the ones that they made the enemies. Now, they had the press on their side, and no, I'm not saying that all press is evil and complicit in this. Is there some complicity? Yes, I believe there absolutely is. And again, folks, this is Jim Kelgard's opinion. This is not the Soul of the Unexplained's opinion. Because John and Johnny and I, we all have our differing views. And Roger has his views as well. And we don't always agree on everything. But what we do agree on, and gentlemen, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, I think I can speak for both Johnny and Johnny in saying that what happened this past week in Orem, Utah, should never, ever happen anywhere. We should always try to defuse situations when you see somebody getting a little too hot under the collar, getting maybe a little bit overzealous and saying, my side is so much better than their side and they're monsters. They deserve something like this. Folks, I'm here to tell you that no human being deserves what Charlie Kirk got. By the same token, no Democratic politician deserves what they got several months ago when they were murdered. Political violence, any violence, regardless of what side does it, initiates it, supports it, commits it, it's never okay. And because of that, we should try to find ways to have common ground, find ways to lift each other up instead of tear each other down. Folks, it's become far too easy in our society to take the cheap shot, to tear somebody down because you don't like this or you don't like that. And that is why we are at the stage that we're at right now, where we're in this point in American history where we haven't seen stuff like this for a very long time, where people are literally killing each other in broad daylight, all because they think that their side represents the epitome of evil. When the reality is, these people have no idea what real evil is. Because real evil is what we saw play out on the campus of Utah Valley University. That is pure evil. And what I would say to any of you that disagree with that, you need to seriously rethink who and what you are. Because human beings don't do that to each other. You have to look beyond the opinions and the views that you hold. If somebody's not challenging what you hold and what you think, then you're not living right. And people should always be challenged, but that should always be done with a modicum of respect, patience, and yes, that T word, tolerance. And folks, I can say that because I myself have been the victim of violence, politically related violence. I've shared in the past how my mother was basically the mayor of my hometown when I was growing up. And I had people who hated my mother because of the political views that she had. And when they couldn't get a reaction out of her, they went after her family. They went after me. They went after my siblings. And so I have had circumstances where I've had a loaded gun held to my head. And I'm here to tell you, folks, I hope none of you ever have to experience that. I have been shot at. I know what violence is like. I have been beat up, physically assaulted because of my religion, because of where I live, because of who my parents were, because of the kind of music that I listen to. I've had death threats for all of the above. I've had death threats over the kind of music that I listen to, and because of my radio show, because I am not playing enough of somebody's favorite band, they saw fit to use that as an opportunity to make a death threat against me and my family over a stupid band. So there's a lot of unbalanced people out there, folks. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in any of that darkness and negativity. That would be my plea to each and every one of you. Again, I don't have a horse in this political race. I genuinely don't. And I don't hate anybody or think less of anybody, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, a liberal or a conservative, an atheist, communist, socialist, whatever. I think of people as human beings first and foremost, and I automatically show respect to anybody just on that aspect alone. Now, can I lose respect for people? Absolutely, and vice versa. And for all I know, what I'm saying now may piss some of you off, but I'm not going to make any apologies for the things that I'm saying because I happen to believe them very strongly. And folks, if we can't collectively figure out how to put this anger and this addiction to outrage behind us, then I'm afraid we're in for a lot more of what we saw happen on the campus of Utah Valley University with Charlie Kirk. My heart does go out to Charlie Kirk and his family. He has two young children that will never see their father grow up. Two young children that were there that had to watch this happen. Think about that for a moment, folks. Just let that sink in. It's time to put the tribalism aside and start figuring out how to be decent and civil and respectful to one another, regardless of what side of the aisle you reside on or whether you reside on an aisle at all. Just get back to the basics, the golden rule. Treat everybody and do unto others as you would have done unto you. It shouldn't be that hard, but yet it is. And perhaps that's why whenever we go and listen to a church service or attend any religious gathering, maybe that's why they keep trying to hammer in those values so much. And those values are not endemic or restricted to just one particular ideology or religion. Hell, I know atheists that are better examples of that than some Christians that I know. And I'm not saying that as a slight against Christianity at all. I'm just illustrating a point. People are people, as Depeche Mode once said back in the 1980s. But that's true, folks. Just try to be better than you were yesterday and try to rise above the things that make you angry. And that's the best way that I can put it. And I apologize for taking so much time and going on this soapbox to say it, but I felt somebody needed to say it, and it needs to be said. And I didn't want there to be any doubt in my mind and anybody's mind where I stand on the issue. We have got to stop making this such a tribalistic society in the United States. And I know it happens outside the US as well. Obviously, I can only speak to my own country. But it's a universal value. People want to feel welcome. People want to feel valued. People want to feel that they have worth, that they have something to contribute. And we need to figure out a way to make more of that happen. We need to be forgiving at times when we have to be. We need to be patient. And we just have to do everything that we can to make sure that what happened this last week doesn't happen again. Because I don't want to see it happen to anybody, whether they be a political opponent or not. Nobody deserves what happened to Charlie Kirk. And that's all that I have to say on that. So with that, folks, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your viewpoints. Thank you for watching The Soul of the Unexplained. Again, a very big welcome to John and Johnny. And Johnny's probably over there thinking, well, gosh, this guy Jim, I don't know if I want to. But anyhow, folks, thank you very much. And we will see you next time here on The Soul of the Unexplained. See ya.